Everyone in Veyrhold believed the gods were above debt. They were wrong. The first person to prove it was not a priest, not a king, not a hero with a legendary sword. It was a dismissed tax scribe with ink on his sleeves, cracked boots on his feet, and a public execution notice waiting outside the royal treasury. His name was Eran Vale, and by the end of the day, he would collect payment from a god. In Veyrhold, every life had a number. Nobles had inheritance ledgers, guilds had ownership ledgers, temples had blessing ledgers, soldiers had rank ledgers, even beggars had debt ledgers. The kingdom called this order. The poor called it breathing with a chain around your throat. If your father died owing grain tax, you inherited the grain tax. If your mother accepted temple medicine, you inherited the temple fee. If your district failed to pay protection money to the crown, your children were born owing protection for streets they never chose to live on. Veyrhold did not need prisons for most people. It had paperwork, and no one understood paperwork better than Eran Vale. That was the first reason they hated him. Eran had no combat class, no temple blessing, no noble sponsor. When the class altar awakened children into warriors, healers, beast tamers, spellwrights, and royal knights, Eran received one of the lowest designations in the kingdom, civic scribe. The crowd laughed when the altar announced it. His teachers apologized. His mother smiled anyway, because in the lower districts, even a useless class was still a way out. For 7 years, Eran copied tax ledgers for the royal treasury. He learned how nobles hid debt inside donations, how temples renamed unpaid interest as spiritual obligation, how guilds transferred losses into worker contracts, and how the crown survived by making poverty look legal. He also learned something more dangerous. Most powerful people did not read what they signed. They trusted seals. They trusted titles. They trusted fear. Eran trusted clauses. That was the second reason they hated him. The third reason arrived on the morning the treasury lost 800,000 royal crowns. By noon, the high treasurer needed a criminal. By sunset, he had chosen one. Eran was dragged into the hall of accounts with chains around his wrists, while nobles watched from polished balconies. High Treasurer Chael Morvant stood above him in robes lined with silver thread. He did not look angry. That frightened Eran more. Angry men made mistakes. Calm men had already decided how much damage they were willing to cause. "Eran Vale," Morvant said, "you were responsible for copying the Eastern debt registers." "I copied them," Eran replied. "I did not alter them." A noblewoman laughed softly. Morvant placed one finger on a stack of documents. 800,000 crowns are missing. Then the thief understood treasury access. "Yes," Morvant said, "and unfortunately for you, so did you." Eran looked at the documents, not at the accusation, at the seals. 3 noble houses, 2 temple witnesses, 1 guild guarantor. Too many signatures, too clean. This was not theft. This was burial. Someone had moved the debt somewhere the law would never look, and they needed a poor man to stand over the grave. Eran should have begged. Most people did. Instead, he said the one thing no powerless man should say in front of powerful liars. "The numbers do not match." The hall went quiet. Morvant's smile did not change. "Then perhaps," he said, "you should spend your final night correcting old mistakes." That was how Eran received his last assignment. Before execution, disgraced scribes were sometimes forced to perform purification labor. The task was simple. Enter the sealed archive below the treasury. Burn outdated divine accounts. Destroy obsolete debt records. Remove anything the kingdom no longer recognized as legally active. The guards shoved Eran into the underground archive with 1 lantern, 1 ash bucket, and 1 warning. Do not read anything. That was their mistake. The archive beneath Veyrhold did not feel abandoned. It felt buried alive. Shelves rose into darkness. Chains wrapped around cabinets. Old contracts hung from iron hooks like dried skin. Some were written on parchment, some on bone, some on thin sheets of metal that hummed when the lantern passed near them. Eran should have been terrified. He was. But fear had never stopped him from reading. He burned the first stack, then the second, then the third. Most records were useless. Expired temple grants, broken guild treaties, dead noble bloodlines, war reparations from kingdoms that no longer existed. But in the seventh cabinet, behind a lock already split with age, Eran found a book that refused to gather dust. It was black, thin, and heavier than iron. No title marked its cover. Only a golden symbol shaped like an open eye inside a balance scale. When Eran touched it, the chains on his wrists tightened. Not because the guards pulled them, because the book knew he owed something. The cover opened by itself. The first page was blank. Then ink appeared. Name: Eran Vale. Class: civic scribe. Status: condemned debtor. Personal debt: 43 crowns, 6 silver, inherited from maternal medical obligation. Royal accusation: pending. Execution: approved. Eran stopped breathing. Then another line formed beneath the first. Eligible role detected: collector. For the first time that day, Eran forgot to be afraid. He turned the page. The book was not an archive. It was an account of debts no human treasury had authority to erase. Kings owed temples. Temples owed guilds. Guilds owed dead workers. Noble houses owed vanished districts. And beneath all of them, written in older ink than the kingdom itself, were debts owed by things the law pretended could not be questioned. Gods. Eran stared at one entry for so long the lantern flame began to shrink. Debtor, Temple of the Ninth Spear. Original creditor, Lower District 7. Debt type, Protection Covenant. Collateral, land rights, water rights, emergency grain vault, civic defense authority. Status, unpaid for 192 years. Reason for default, patron deity declared dormant. Collection eligibility, active. Every other scribe had probably seen an obsolete temple debt, a dead god, a ruined district, a worthless claim. Eran saw something else. Collateral. He read the clause 3 times, then a 4th. Then he laughed. Not loudly, not happily. The laugh of a starving man finding out the lock on the food store had always been decorative. The Temple of the Ninth Spear had once promised to protect Lower District 7. When plague came, it sealed its doors. When famine came, it sold its grain to nobles. When raiders came, it claimed its god was silent. The district collapsed. The temple survived. The debt remained. And the divine ledger did not care that the debtor had become respectable. It did not care that the priests had changed names. It did not care that the god was forgotten. A debt was a debt. Eran placed his bleeding thumb against the page. "I file collection," he whispered. The archive answered, not with a voice, with bells. Far above him, every temple bell in Veyrhold rang once. The guards rushed in. They found Eran standing in a circle of golden light, surrounded by contracts lifting from the shelves like awakened birds. One guard raised his spear. The book turned a page. The spearhead rusted into dust. The guard lowered the handle very slowly. Eran looked down at the new entry. Collection approved. Collateral transferred. Lower District 7 Civic Authority assigned to Collector Eran Vale. Emergency grain vault unsealed. Water rights restored. Defense authority pending. Temple appeal window, 3 days. By sunrise, the lower district fountains ran for the first time in 19 years. By noon, children were carrying bowls under broken statues while their parents cried in the street. By afternoon, the sealed grain vault beneath the old temple opened. Not for nobles, not for priests, for the district named in the original covenant. The people did not know Eran had done it. Not at first. They only knew that the water came back. Then the grain. Then the tax brands on their doors changed. Old crown debt removed. Under civic protection. Collector, Eran Vale. That was when the rumors began. Some called him a fraud. Some called him a thief. Some called him blessed. Eran corrected them only once. "I am not blessed," he said. "I read the contract." The poor loved him for that. The nobles feared him for the same reason. Because a sword could be blocked. A spell could be countered. But a legal claim, approved by a divine system older than the crown, was something far more dangerous. It made theft look like ownership. It made ownership look like guilt. And it made every sealed ledger in Veyrhold a possible weapon. That evening, Eran returned to Lower District 7. He expected gratitude. He found a line of people waiting outside the abandoned tax office. A widow with temple debt. A baker whose oven had been seized by guild collectors. A child carrying his dead father's mining contract. One by one, they placed their papers before him. One by one, Eran read. Some debts were false. Some were inflated. Some were legal but cruel. He could not erase all of them. The ledger had rules. So Eran did something smarter. He purchased the debts for 1 copper each. The creditors laughed. Bad debt was worthless. Poor debtors could not pay. Lower district contracts were wrought in paper form. By nightfall, Eran owned 412 debts. Then he rewrote the terms. No interest, no inherited burden, no temple punishment, no child liability. Payment accepted through labor, service, information, or district rebuilding. The people cheered when they heard it. Eran did not. Because he understood the part they did not. He had not freed them completely. He had moved their chains into his own hands. And some small, cold part of him knew he had done it on purpose. Not to hurt them, not to own them, but because protection without leverage was only a prayer. And Eran Vale no longer believed in prayers. From the highest tower of the royal treasury, Cale Morvant watched the lower district lights return one by one. His assistant trembled beside him. Should we arrest him? Morvant did not answer immediately. On his desk lay an old royal document, one he had hoped no living person would ever find. At the bottom was the same golden eye inside a balance scale. "The boy found the ledger," Morvant said. The assistant went pale. "I thought it was destroyed." "No," Morvant replied. "Worse. It was waiting for someone poor enough to use it." Below the tower, the people of District 7 lit cooking fires with grain they had not tasted in years. They said Eran's name like a blessing. Morvant watched them with something almost like pity. "Send word to the temples," he said. "Tell them to hide every unpaid covenant." "And the boy?" Morvant turned from the window. "Do not kill him yet." The assistant hesitated. "Why?" "Because if he has collected from the 9th spear, then he has not stolen from a temple." Morvant looked down at the old document again. "He has awakened a creditor." That night, long after the district fell asleep, the divine ledger opened beside Eran's bed. No hand touched it. No wind moved the pages. A new entry wrote itself in red gold ink. Collection successful. Dormant debtor notified. Eran sat up. The room had become cold. Outside, every dog in District 7 began to howl. The page turned again. Debtor response received. From beyond the city walls, beneath a battlefield no map remembered, something ancient opened one eye. And for the first time in 200 years, the forgotten god of war spoke through the ledger. Collector accepted. Debt disputed. Payment will be made in blood.